Half of the teams in the NFC East have pressing trade requests due to contract issues. First, Commanders wideout Terry McLaurin requested a trade on Thursday. Friday, Cowboys defensive end Micah Parsons gave a lengthy post to social media wanting out of Dallas for a variety of reasons. Now, it read in part, quote, "Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. Still, I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally," end quote. Now, here's CBS Sports Cowboys reporter Garrett Podell on how exactly we got to this point.
Jerry Jones downplayed the importance of an agent in contract negotiations, saying he only talks to the principals in these contract talks, which being the players. However, Stephen Jones at the first day of training camp said, "I talk to the agents. Adam Prifska, our salary cap guy, talks to the agents." But Micah said in his tweet, when his agent reached out to Adam, Adam said the deal was basically done. Parsons and his agent did not feel that way. And since there's been radio silence from the Cowboys end because they believe that their informal negotiations with Parsons were official, and that was the contract. Parsons wisely does not want to get any deal done without his agent. So now we're here at an impasse. Parsons wants out, supposedly, or this could be leveraged in the same way Myles Garrett leveraged his trade request to the Cleveland Browns to get his 4-year, $164 million extension a few months ago. Now, Parsons, last year of his rookie deal, fully guaranteed 5th-year option. The Cowboys then have the ability to franchise tag Parsons not once, but twice if they really want to. They did this with Dak Prescott for his first deal. They franchise tagged him a second time, but then did eventually come to terms on a long-term deal and rescinded that second tag. So buckle up. This is just the first massive domino in a line of many more to come. Or perhaps Parsons is re-signing with the Cowboys as that banner's going up in Philadelphia on Thursday, September 4th.
Thanks so much, Garrett. So the Micah Parsons saga has reached an impasse. Jerry Jones said that after their meeting in March, he and Parsons came to an agreement on the framework of a deal. But since then, pass rushers Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and TJ Watt have all signed extensions, with Watt becoming the highest paid non-QB in NFL history at $41 million per season. Parsons is currently set to make $21.3 million this season on the 5th-year option of his rookie deal. And with that, we bring in CBS Sports NFL and NFL draft analyst Ryan Wilson and CBS Sports NFL writer John Breech. And fellas, I'm just grateful that we have wives who have no interest in requesting trades from us, but the Cowboys can't say the same. Micah Parsons is clearly fed up, and when you examine, Ryan, how negotiations have gone these last several months, how much blame do you assign to Jerry Jones for all of this?
All of it, Chris. Good to see you. Good to see you, Breech. Because, look, Breech and I talked about this earlier, and if what Micah put in on his socials, as the kids say, is true, and we have no reason not to believe it, it doesn't sound like there was much of a two-way conversation. Negotiations require two people. It sounded like Micah and Jerry sat down, and Dave Mulugeta, who was Micah's agent, wasn't there. And again, according to Micah, none of the calls or texts or emails from Dave to the front office were ever answered. So it sounds like the Cowboys are playing the dumbest game of chicken ever, because I don't know, and I said this earlier, Chris, it does not make sense to me what the rationale would be if you're the organization and you want to sign the best player in the NFL who's not a quarterback to a new deal, why you would drag your feet. But Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones do that with every single player on their roster who is important to what they want to do. And then after that, why you would complicate things to the point where 25-year-old Micah Parsons is so frustrated that he just throws his hands up and says, I'm done with this. And Breech can tell you, and that back in the spring, they could have signed Micah Parsons for much less than $41 million, but here we are. So I would blame Jerry Jones just based on the information that I have. Maybe Jerry Jones has some secret somewhere that he wants to share with everyone, and then the blame will go to Micah, but I don't know what that story would have to be for me to change my opinion based on all the things we've discovered together throughout this process.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to have to agree with Ryan. 100% of the blame should go on Jerry Jones. I think Dak Prescott would probably agree with that. I think CeeDee Lamb would probably agree with that. Jerry Jones, here's what he loves to do in negotiations is play hardball, play the game of chicken, even though he knows he's eventually going to lose. He's the guy that is driving the car off the cliff. You're supposed to slam the brakes, but then accidentally goes off. He's the one who ends up losing money here. We looked at those top paid edge rushers. Well, back in January, Nick Bosa was at the top of that list at $34 million per year. If they get a deal done with Micah Parsons in January, they're only paying $36 million per year. But then Myles Garrett gets a deal done, Danielle Hunter, Max Crosby, and then the most recent one is TJ Watt. So now it's up to $41 million a year. This is just bad business on Jerry Jones's part, because it's not just that you're paying $7 or $8 million more than you would have back in January. Jerry, there's a salary cap in the NFL, so that's $8 million more that you can't spend on another position. So it's just bonkers. Not that it's going on this year, but this seems to happen every single year with the Dallas Cowboys, whether it's Dak Prescott eventually getting $60 million, which is $5 million more than any other quarterback in the NFL makes. CeeDee Lamb broke the bank. Jerry Jones just doesn't seem to realize he keeps losing these negotiations. He keeps going back for more. So it is a little bizarre, and clearly it's very easy to see why Micah Parsons is frustrated.
Yeah, it is very bizarre, but this is who Jerry Jones is, right? He likes to be in front of the media. He wants the camera in his face. And to your point, John, I have no idea why he would make this move because, yeah, you're losing more money because you could have got the deal done a lot earlier ago. Now, you talked about CeeDee Lamb probably not being happy with this. Well, Parsons definitely has the support of his teammates. Lamb posted this on X saying, quote, "Never fails, dog. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular." Trayvon Diggs, DeMarvion Overshown, and Wanye Thomas all changed their avatars to include a picture of Parsons actually as well. So when you think about all these Cowboys players coming out in support of Micah Parsons, what does it say, John, that we've reached this point? Because you don't always have this in every situation where there's a holdout or a hold-in with a superstar caliber player.
Right. Well, this tells me that maybe this is Jerry Jones's master plan. He has united the Cowboys locker room. They're all on the same page against him. This is what he wants. This is what it took him 30 years to do, was unite them so that they could go win a Super Bowl. But really, it just says that everyone who was negotiated with this front office has dealt with these issues. They know how much of a pain it is to deal with Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones or whoever they have to talk to get a contract done. And the more money you're going to be making, the harder it is to get a deal done with the guys in this front office, specifically Jerry Jones. And I think that's why you see so many of Micah Parsons' teammates support them. You usually don't see this a lot. When you have an issue, Terry McLaurin's issue in Washington, it's not like you have a bunch of Commanders players out there speaking out on social media, even if they think that Terry McLaurin deserves more money. But in Dallas, that's exactly what's happening. So it's pretty clear that Micah Parsons has the support of the locker room. So if you trade him away, now that locker room's going to revolt. So it just, the Cowboys are in an impossible situation that they put themselves in.
Breech, I think you hit on something. Jerry Jones is playing 12D chess while the rest of us are just trying to figure out what's going on. He's bringing the team together in a very particular way. But I think your other point, your last point, is an important one. Micah maybe does get traded, but I don't know how the locker room survives that because, again, he's well liked in the locker room, number one. He's also one of the best players on planet Earth, number two. The other thing to keep in mind, and Chris John talked on this earlier, all the money, they've overpaid their players because they've drugged their feet. Hey, guess what? If you do, in fact, pay Micah 42, 3, 4, 45 million a year, guess who's getting paid next? Deron Bland's going to be up. He had 9 interceptions a few years ago. He was one of the best defensive players in the league in the secondary. George Pickens arrived this offseason to help that offense. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. If he balls out, you're going to have to pay him as well. In the meantime, you're going to devote about 35 to 40% of your salary cap player to salary cap space to 3 players, should you in fact sign Micah Parsons. So there are so many moving parts. And you know, we talk a lot about unforced errors and sort of shooting yourself in the foot. The Cowboys don't have any feet left because they've taken so many shots and blown off every single one of their toes on all these unforced errors. It seemed like eminently avoidable mistakes that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones just lead into. And it's, again, unclear why they do the things they do. Sometimes you see organizations make moves with players, and you can understand the rationale even if you disagree with it. I cannot explain what the thought process here, unless they are trying to make Micah Parsons angry and not want to play for the Cowboys, in which case they've absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, standout job in that regard. Only reason I can understand is that he wants everybody to be talking about the Cowboys. But aside from that, it really does not make any sense why you continue to make the moves you do. Now, John, you brought up Terry McLaurin, right, with Washington. Now, his teammates haven't publicly said anything. How do you think his trade request is going to play with his teammates, the fact that we haven't had anybody step up in regards to him?
Well, it's a completely different situation. It feels like Micah Parsons is one of the best defenders, top 3 defender in the NFL. He's younger. He's 25. He's got a bright future ahead of him. That's a cornerstone piece of your organization that you do not trade away. With Terry McLaurin, it is a little bit dicier. You can understand at least, this is kind of what Ryan was talking about, where when teams are in this position, you can at least understand their position sometimes, and you can understand Commanders general manager Adam Peters. You have Terry McLaurin's north of 30. You're not sure you want to commit top 5 receiver money. You'd be paying him $33, $34, $35 million per year. But if you're the Commanders, you really just have to look at Jaden Daniels' development from last season. Daniels absolutely loved throwing the ball to Terry McLaurin. He targeted him 117 times. McLaurin had the second most touchdown catches with 13. So he's a guy that needs to be out in the field because the Commanders don't really have anyone on the roster who can fill that hole. Yes, they traded for Deebo Samuel, but Deebo Samuel is not Terry McLaurin. They don't really have that same skill set. I think that Terry McLaurin obviously already has a good chemistry with Jaden Daniels. So you don't want to take, you have your quarterback who had a huge year, now going into a second year, you take away his favorite weapon, that makes that offense much worse. And I don't think you want to do that just a month before the season starts. So I do think that it does make sense for the Commanders to get a deal done, even if they have to overpay a little bit.
And that's going to be the thing. How much are you going to pay him? 29 now, he'll be 30 during the course of the season, and this will be his 3rd contract with the Commanders. And here's the thing about Terry McLaurin's trade request. It feels a little bit like your 8-year-old who says they're going to run away because they can't get their way. You know they don't mean it, and they'll probably be back. And I think that sort of was Terry's implication. He's like, look, I'm done with this. I'm going to just put this out there publicly, and let's get this sorted out. But the issue is the age. But the other thing Breech touched on is an important one. Typically, quarterbacks have all the leverage in negotiations because without a quarterback, your team isn't going to win many football games. But as Breech noted, that wide receiver room was pretty thin without Terry McLaurin there, and he's a big part of Jaden Daniels' success a year ago. Now, Jaden is also a big part of that. Cliff Kingsbury's a big part of that. They did go out and get Deebo Samuel, who struggles to stay healthy at times. But I think this offense without Terry McLaurin is going to look a lot different than last year's that was so incredibly successful and a lot of fun to watch. So I think in that sense, Terry does have some leverage. I don't know if he's going to crack the top 5 in terms of average annual value for these wide receivers. And again, those guys are all 25 to 28. And that may have something to do with it. So they're going to have to meet in the middle. This is going to have to be, in fact, a true negotiation where both sides give a little bit, unlike what we're seeing unfold in Dallas, where, again, it just defies logic and common sense about what they're trying to do with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I definitely think Scary Terry, it's much more likely that he gets a deal done first than what we see with Micah Parsons and Dallas. Ryan Wilson, John Breech, always appreciate the insight, fellas. And CBS Sports training camp tour rolls on this weekend. Going to Vegas, baby. Brian McFadden will be with the Raiders on Saturday. On Sunday, we'll be live in Cincy for the latest on Trey Hendrickson. Holden, turn to HQ for exclusive interviews and camp coverage all summer long.